And we're
Yay!
live. Woohoo! Some reason I can, I think it's 8 people. Yeah, 8 or 7. Hi everyone, it's Robin here, and hey, Christina, Adele, can you see Christina there on the screen?
Mhm.
Only her right now?
No,
Okay.
you're big, she's
I'm
small.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. Welcome everyone to our month 3 Q&A call. So glad you could join us. I think we've got about 7 people in the chat room right now. I can't see who they are. I have no idea what I'm doing. But anyway, this month we focused on growing your list. So if you've got any questions for us in regards to that or anything that you're struggling with, then feel free to pop them in the chat box. But in the meantime, we're joined by a very special guest, and this is Christina Marie, and she is our productivity and efficiency expert. So if you haven't jumped into the bonus section yet, then make sure you do. It's something that every business owner struggles with, and that's being productive and not spinning your wheels so that you're not getting any work done, and putting some systems and process flows in place to make sure that you, especially when we're first starting out and it's just us running our business, I think it's a really important way to start planning your business. I think, Christina, you were saying to me, you mentioned to me that you should plan your business from the beginning as if you are a bigger company so that you can grow with
Yeah.
that. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Christina to you before I start chatting with her. And she can give you guys a little bit more of a backstory as to why she is our productivity expert. So let
Oh,
have the
great.
floor.
Thanks, Robin. Thank you. Hi,
It's okay.
everyone. I'm really excited to be here today. I love Robin and Adele, and I'm so pleased to be a part of this course. So basically, just a little bit of background on me. By trade, I'm an IT project manager. So I worked for IBM as a IT project manager for more than 10 years, and then went to the New South Wales state government and also a gaming company at which I still do work. So what that means is pretty much I am a bit of a big nerd. I love spreadsheets. I love organization. I love notebooks and writing stuff down and all that type of thing. That was pretty much how I was born. So when it came to creating my own business, really the only thing that I wanted to do was help others be able to be more productive, more efficient, more organized, everything from time management to arranging where to be and when and all that type of stuff. So that's really how I came to be where I am now. And I came across both Robin and Adele, and they asked me to join this course, and I was more than happy to do so. So happy to be here tonight, and hopefully I'm able to impart some good info for you. And not everything about organisation is nerdy, so that's why I can have the crazy hair and I can show you that you don't have to wear a propeller hat and thick glasses to be like organised or productive. You can just
Yep.
be a cool person. So
Yes.
yeah, that's that, because a lot of creative people get worried about that. They think if I'm organised, it's going to stifle my creativity because suddenly I'm just going to be in this box. Whereas actually that's a really big misnomer, because you're not going to be in a box. You're actually going to be so organised with what you have to do. You're going to have all this extra room to do your creative stuff. So you've got to kind of switch it on its head. So that's kind of where I come from too. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's me.
Excellent. And Adele, you actually did some work, Christina. Do you want to have a chat about what you got out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Christina and I, we had a really great session where basically she just nutted out everything that that I did during the day, and basically we talked about the problems that I was having getting stuff done. And when you're running your own business, for me, it was a matter of letting her know what I did in the morning. So, and this is still what I do every day. I get up in the morning, I walk my dogs, I come home, I make them breakfast, I make myself breakfast, I have a shower, I get ready for my day, and I start about 10:30. And then from there, I sort of have until 4:30. And then I take the dogs again, I take them for a walk, and then I come home, get dinner ready, get into my pajamas, usually jump on the laptop, do another couple of hours of work. So it was really, for me, learning how to fit everything I wanted to in that first half of the day rather than be working late at night, because it was burning me out and it was exhausting me and it was not allowing me to do the things that I wanted to do, which was, spend time with Paul and the dogs, and sit on the couch and do nothing and just watch television and totally zone out for a couple of hours. So learning how to fit everything in was probably my biggest, challenge. But basically, we went through everything I did during the day. We went through the things that were the huge tasks and broke them down, and then looked at the smaller tasks and things that had to be done every single day and how I could do them quicker. So instead of sitting in my emails all day, I would, now I'm pretty much on top of my email. So what I just do is when an email drops in, I'll either reply to it immediately, because it means that, I don't have to think about it. And I know some people say to only check their emails 3 times a day. I don't operate that way. I need to know what's going on in my email. So when an email drops in, if it's something that I can reply to immediately, I do it. And if not, it's something that I put in the to-do basket for tomorrow. So it's just a matter of working out a system that suits you. And I think Christina will be, in agreement with that not every system or process is going to work for everyone. She's going to talk a little bit about some of the processes that we used, and they're also in the bonus module as well. But one of the things that worked so good for me, and I've told Christine this as well, is the Pomodoro technique. We've mentioned it a number of times. We're talking about it in the group a lot. And the Pomodoro technique is basically just a 25-minute block. I choose 25 minutes because it's just what they say is standard. And I just go with it. I don't need to change that time. So I just go 25-minute block for the next 25 minutes, absolutely uninterrupted. I'm going to reply to emails. I'm going to bulk reply to a bunch of questions on my Facebook group. I'm going to pump out a blog, whatever it may be. Like while I was sitting here waiting for tonight to start, in 20 minutes I filmed 3 videos on my iPhone, and that's why I'm all set up here. So I just got out my little phone and just filmed 3 videos. I'm like, okay, I've got 20 odd minutes. I'm just going to smash it out. So you can do a lot of things when you break them into manageable tasks, and so many of us see these huge things like creating ebooks, getting websites up and running, having a huge following. They're these massive tasks in our mind, but when we break them down, they are totally achievable. So yeah, that's probably what we spoke about, wasn't it, Christina, amongst many other things?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I think that's, sorry.
No, you go, Christina.
Yeah, look, that's a really big thing, Adele, because I think when it all comes down to it, when you think of organizational productivity or efficiency, 99% of the time it does come down to your time management, how you use your time, whether you're using it wisely and what you're using it for. So things like the Pomodoro technique can actually just make a real difference to to what you're getting done. As I think we discussed it together. If I'm sitting here and I let the Facebook dings go off and my emails go off and all that type of stuff, it'll take me 2 hours to do something that I could have just done in one 25-minute Pomodoro if I had switched off all the notifications. So it's just a matter of choosing how you use your time. And then you walk out of it and you go, wow, firstly, that 25 minutes without Facebook and a phone didn't kill me. I'm not dead. And secondly, look at all that stuff I just achieved in such a short amount of time. So that's really, I love that technique, and I'm so glad you've been talking about it, because it's just the best thing ever.
Yeah, I
Exactly.
actually, I know lots of people that do their own version as well. Like I know some of my mentors have said 45 minutes suits them better, because they tend to, sit down, do 45 minutes, then get up, walk away from the computer, go outside, have a drink, then come back down again for 45 minutes, because they just find that 25 minutes isn't long enough. So don't feel that you have to stick to that. And I also think that something that Justine touched on is your biorhythms. Some people, and I know that Adele and I have learnt this the hard way, some people just don't work very well when they're just sitting at a computer all day, like non-stop. Like, I remember we went and saw, Adele and I went to a conference at the beginning of the year in Australia, and the guy there, I can't remember what topic he was talking about, but he was just saying that, you know, just getting to know your own working style, like, and I know that as much as I do have lots of, you know, times of ambition or drive or productivity, and I want to sit at my computer for like 8 hours straight, I know that by the end of the 8 hours, I'm no good to anybody. So it's better for me to be able to get up away from my computer after a certain period of time, get fresh, then come back again, no matter how hard it is. And Adele and I, you know, enforced that when we were creating Make Some Real Dough. In fact, Adele probably enforced it a little bit better than what I did. Like, she was like, come on, get your swimmers on, we're going for a swim, you know, or we're going for a spa. Like, and I was like, just got to get this one more thing done.
Like, no, we're in Bali, let's have a massage, let's go.
So, yeah, it does, you know, I think come down to knowing exactly how you best operate. And I know that even if I think that I'm going to get a good chunk of work done in an 8-hour block, that then wipes me out for a good, you know, 24, 48 hours, which isn't productive at all. So if I can chunk it, and if you understand your biorhythms, like I know that, yeah, I need to get out in nature a lot more often than what I do, and just take more breaks away from the computer. And even when you do manage to do that, most of us have said already that sometimes, you know, with a weekend where you have no technology, you come back feeling fresher, more vibrant. You've got more good creative ideas that, you know, you're not forcing it in your business. So. Yeah. And also, yeah, Justine just said to Adele, or she said to the group about, you know, knowing when her brain dead times are, or, you know, that when she's got more energy. So one challenge that she faces is working out that the system for her meant that harnessing her high energy during the day and using brain dead times to rest or do tasks that don't require much brain power.
Yeah, so, like 3:30 is my brain dead time. I know that often Robin and I will be working at that time, and I'm like, I've got to go. I just shut my computer down. Like, I had a nap today at 3 o'clock. I started it as a meditation, and it ended up being a bit of a nap. And then the dogs came over, and Hank had his little wet nose on my cheek, and I'm like, okay, it's obviously walk time, so it was 4:15. But, you know, this is the thing, you need to know your peak times of work and your peak energy times. And with Robin and I being on opposite sides of the world, it can work really well, but it can also work against us because our peak times are both at night. So her night time is my day and my night time is her day, so it can be a little bit tricky. So, but finding your working time is going to be really, really great for everyone moving forward.
Sorry. No, you go, Christina.
No, one thing I was going to say on that is it actually touches on a really good point that I talk about quite a bit as well, which is everyone is individual. So when you read those articles that say you should just do such and such in the morning, or everyone should get up early or whatever. I mean, I'm an early riser. I'm a morning person. By nighttime, I just want to put on a pair of pajamas and go to bed. But it's all about the individual. So, you know, it's the same with, you know, how you manage your to-do list, for example. It's not let's get the latest bit of software that everyone's talking about. It's, okay, what works for this person is a notepad and pencil. What works for someone else is an app on their phone. What works for someone else is a spreadsheet on their computer. It's really all about, look, and Adele's showing us her list on a piece of paper. You know, it's really all about the individual, finding what works for you, because guess what? That's what's going to be more efficient. If you're a notepad and pencil person and someone says to you, no, you have to use this app on your computer, is that going to make you efficient, or is it just going to make you go, well, this is terrible, like it's not working for me? So yeah, that's really, really important.
That's right. Yeah, I think that's a lot of people can go, okay, I'll use this system, and they feel like a failure when it doesn't work out that way. I know I've tried so many different systems for myself, and yeah, I end up gravitating back to the same old school system that's always worked for me, which still, I just need to be more disciplined with it. But Christine, before we get into the questions, I want to ask you, do you have something to recommend to somebody who, like me, because I know with Adele and I, we're both very, I don't know if it's we're right-brained, and when it comes to systems and process flows and stuff, it can kind of turn our brain to mush. Have you got any suggestions? Like, because I know that I'll force myself to go in and set up systems. Like, I like them when they're running, but to actually get my head around how to set them up, like, have you got any advice for people that kind of glaze over? Like you were saying, how much you love spreadsheets, and I can use them, but I don't love them, and I know that because my husband loves them, and he uses them for everything from like choosing our son's name, like, and what combinations of names, like, to buying a car, you know.
His spreadsheets are ridiculous. He's like literally Goodwill hunting of spreadsheets. It's crazy.
I love it. That is fantastic. Instead of bringing my glass, I should have brought in my cup, my coffee cup that says "I love spreadsheets" on it, because I really love one. So there are two things that I'd like to say to that. Firstly, you know, if you're more of a visual person than a systems and straight down the line spreadsheet type of person, you can work with that, right? So think of a massive whiteboard or a massive piece of butcher's paper where you actually draw out circles like a mind map. So you might write X and real dough in the center, and you have to write, okay, social media out to the right, and advertising out to the left, and content, and how you're going to distribute it. And you can draw all your little circles and boxes and squiggly lines that go off it, which to a visual person will make a whole lot more sense than trying to jot down a whole lot of stuff into a project plan or a spreadsheet. So that's a way you can start getting your head around it if it's something you choose to do yourself. Mm-hmm. But what I like to tell people as well is you've got to work with your own strengths. So one thing that Adele and I did go over, again, sounds like nerdiness central, is a thing called the Eisenhower Delegation Matrix. And what that's all about is working out what you love and what you're good at versus what you don't like or what you're not good at, okay? And what you do is you work out how you can spend your time doing the stuff you love and the stuff you're good at, and how you can actually delegate the other stuff. So what I would suggest for you is, you know, someone in your situation would actually sit there and say, well, listen, I don't want to get my head around all this type of stuff. I don't have to get my head around all this type of stuff. So maybe what I do is I focus my energy on X because I love doing X, and I get a systems person to come in and implement what I'm asking them to implement. We always have this thing that because we're working for ourselves, we have to do everything ourselves, but we actually don't. So, and I know things are costly, right? So yes, you hire someone and it costs you money, but how much are you losing in income you could be earning if you were sitting there trying to grapple with it yourself? So you've just got to crunch those numbers and work out how you feel about it. But, you know, they're two different ways of looking at it. Either do it in a way that makes more sense to you, like a mind map and a butcher's paper, and kind of do it that way, or get someone else to do it.
Wow, I like that. That's awesome. Thank you. And I do have my whiteboard just here. I don't know if everyone can see it.
Oh, yay. Yeah. Oh.
So that's validation that I'm doing the right thing then. That's good. Cool.
Yeah. And the Eisenhower technique is awesome.
Yeah. What's it called again? The Eisenhower?
So it's called the technique. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
No, go, Christine. Sorry, go. There's a delay.
Okay. Yeah, there is a bit of a delay. So it's called the Eisenhower Delegation Matrix, but what I can do is on the Facebook group thread, I've actually just written a blog post on it where it just kind of goes over it and shows the diagram and how to do it. I'll just post the link in there once we finish up.
Excellent. I just wanted to bring up too, Christina, Lee has said it's just so hard when you have a real job though. So I think you could probably help, you could really answer that one.
Yeah, look. Lee, I did see that come up, and I was dying to actually respond to that. So I do have a day job, and if I might go into it just for a second, I manage a studio of more than 30 artists, mathematicians, software developers, sound composers, and whatever, and we create games. So I'm the producer in that studio. Now, I arrive at work at 7:30 in the morning, I get home 7 o'clock at night, and add to that I have a 3-hour daily commute. So, like tomorrow morning, my alarm's going to go off at 4 because I've got to be in the office by 7. So, believe me, I know what it's like with a day job. But what you've got to do is you just got to work out what's possible to do and what's not possible to do. This isn't a race. It isn't about burning yourself out. It's just about saying, well, you know, make a little rule for yourself. Say, okay, each day I just want to do one thing that works on my business. Or maybe you say to yourself, while I'm on the train, in the morning I can read my novel, and in the afternoon I'll jot down a blog post that I can type up on the weekend or something. So it's really just a matter of looking at what time is available, look at what time you have to spend on yourself and on your own self-care and going to the gym and making your good food and looking after your family and being with your friends. But just you just slot it in where you can. It's not a race and it's not about burnout. So I really know all about that. Look, I sit there and compare myself to people all the time going, she only started her business 5 minutes ago and, you know, she's running around now saying she's making 6 figures, blah, blah, blah. Well, I'm sorry, I don't have 24 hours a day to do it. I'm doing all that other stuff that I was just talking about. Yeah. So just, you know, you kind of work within the parameters that you've got, I guess. I don't have kids, but I would say that it would be a similar situation. If you had kids, you know, substitute that for what I said about the job or the commute or whatever. You just got to fit in what you can. And, you know, yeah, there's not really much more to say about that. Yeah.
So in terms of having children, pardon?
Oh, and learning to say no.
Yes, learning to say no. I think that just Mel just said, how do you work with kids? I just want to let everyone know that it does get more difficult with children, and I think that if I knew what I knew now prior to having children, which Mel said she doesn't have them yet but wants to know ahead of time, I would have baby-proofed my business a little bit better, or I would have just realised that there's just going to be a period, particularly when they're newborns, where there's just not a lot of work that's going to get done. So I'm in the fortunate position that we weren't relying on my income, and we're still not. So I can be really flexible with what I say yes and no to. However, for me to grow my business, I've had to call in support. Like when I'm in Australia, my children go to daycare 3 to 4 days a week, and I've also got my parents to help me out with them 1 day a week. So I don't work full time, and I never plan to until my children are a little bit older. But I just work within the times, like just trying to even get Christina on with a call, you know, with her work and with me looking after the kids was like, oh, you know, it may not have even happened. So there's a lot of inflexibility, I guess, with me having the kids, same as when I'm trying to do evening webinars in Australia. That's just really difficult unless my husband's there or my mum looks after the kids. So there's a lot that I have to say no to, and I have to just be really mindful of the times that I don't have the kids, when they're either at daycare or when we're here in Saudi Arabia. We have part-time daycare, and I also I'm very fortunate to have a live-in nanny. So, but these are things that are more affordable for us here, and they're kind of a given. It's kind of what most people have here. So, but in Australia, I do actually feel like I've got more support in Australia because there's more options, like for childcare, whereas we've got a lot less over here. But I think it's just, you know, weighing up, well, what's important, and it's something that I'm constantly doing every day. I'm going, okay, well, right now my family's more important, so I'm not pushing forward on my business growth as much, you know, or when my kids are a little bit more independent or they've got like more activities happening, that's when I can, you know, really push forward with my business at that point. So it's kind of up and down. And I also think that Lee talking about having a job can actually be an advantage if you're trying to grow a side business, because one, you've probably got a little bit more money, a bit more cash flow, so you're not as reliant on your business to be successful, so you're not pushing when it's not really like right yet. So there's that less pressure on you to get that up and running. Plus, you've also got the ability to be a little bit more patient with growing it to the level that you want it to be. Like you're not relying on the income as much from the business to succeed. So you can kind of do your research, really determine what your business model is, get clarity around what your product offerings are going to be. And I found that any clients that I've ever mentored, the ones that actually have jobs have, have been a lot happier about making the transition as a side business first. So I hope that helps to give you a little bit of inspiration. So, do we have any questions? I know you've been answering some of them as well, Adele, but is there anything that you want to highlight so that it comes up in the recording?
Look, with same as Christina, when I had a full-time job, it is really prioritizing. It is often saying no, and it's a big lesson for most of us. Being women and being giving creatures, we want to make sure that everyone else is happy, but sometimes it means saying no to things that just aren't working. One of the selfish reasons why we moved up here was to get away from Melbourne, where we had a lot of responsibility with socializing with friends and seeing family constantly, and always being invited to events and things. It got really, really exhausting. So for me, I really, really wanted to solely focus on my business. So one of the reasons why we did move up here was for the peace and quiet. And it's been beautiful. So, that has been a really big lifestyle choice, but just learning to say no across anything that did not get my business to the next step was just something that I did when I was even working. I'm constantly invited to do in-store talks at night that, that health food stores would want me to go in and do talks. I would do the bare minimum that I had to do. Anything extra, I was like, no, I'm not getting paid for it by my job, and B, it's actually infringing on my business time. So it's just a matter of balancing that out. About being, Leah has said she's been quite resentful about her day job, and I hear you. I would get up in the morning and I would just think, oh, the one thing that kept me going was knowing that I had my business to come home to, and that was what I used my day job to actually talk about. So while I was on the road and while I was traveling around and seeing clients and health food stores, I would talk to them and tell them about Veggie Head. So I would constantly use my day job as sort of a little bit of a feeding ground, a little bit of marketing exercise to see what was out there and what people wanted. So if you can look at your normal job as a way to, get some market research or to find out more information about certain things, do it. And it's not going to be forever. And this is the thing: it's no job is forever these days. We're not guaranteed to have a job, in 30 or 40 years' time like you used to. It's just going to be a matter of trial and error and playing around with it. So learn to say no. Lee asked about planners. Robin and I actually both have these awesome big wall planners.
Just going to post the link.
It's a huge... I've done it. Yeah, it's you've done it as well. Yeah, so it's just newyear.net, and they're brilliant. So we love ours, and I'm constantly sticking notes on mine, and it's a whiteboard, so you can actually wipe it off and write on it again. So it's great.
Yeah, and it's huge.
But yeah,
I actually left mine in Australia because it was that big. But I'm coming back to it.
I can't wait to get right.
I know, I can't wait to get back to my big planner. And you think you're a nerd, Christina?
Nerds.
Yeah, no. And just back to Leah as well. Like, I think it's a really good idea about changing your perspective, and it's something that I have to do, not necessarily with my day job, but with where I'm living right now. Saudi Arabia is not exactly where a food blogger wants to be living, for 8 years straight. So, I totally get what you're saying about, having to change your perspective and what it can enable you to do. Like when you are, living the dream, which I imagine for you is going to be working full-time on Brisbane Pay, you do tend to become a lot more insular. So you're sitting on your computer a lot more, and I think that, this is a really great opportunity for you to be getting your name out there, even more, like to be networking, telling everyone you know about what you're doing. If you can, sometimes some workplaces it's not really appropriate, but use it to your advantage. Do what you're doing as great as you can do, even if it's not what you want to be doing long term, so that you can make that transition when the time does come a lot smoother for you. And Justine's just saying a job can also offer skills and knowledge you might be able to leverage in your blog business, which is, exactly right. And I totally, sorry, Christina, you go?
No, was just agreeing with you. And you know what? If I want to be a little bit naughty, I can also say that what a job also offers is you do have some downtime, right? So if it's lunchtime and if you're like me, instead of sitting there looking at Facebook for an hour while you eat your sandwich at your desk, you know, jot down your next blog post or something like that, because you've got a computer right in front of you. Obviously, that doesn't work if you're in retail, but you know, I'm not saying take away from your job time. I certainly don't do that. But at lunchtime and stuff like that, absolutely. I used to just sit there doing mindless scrolling, but what's the point of that when I can pretty much fit in a productive hour and then get back to work? So, you know, there's an hour that you can do straight up. I know that's easier said than done, but, you know, it's just a thought. Yeah.
Even once or twice a week, that would be awesome.
Yeah, and I would be exactly the same too. And, you know, it's really interesting. I never would have thought, like, it's, you know, I was a flight attendant for 10 years, but prior to that I did work in corporate, and I would never have thought that a job that I just fell into, I was also a project manager for a bank in IT, and I would never have thought that that would be something that I would use, you know, 15 years later, or I think it's 15 years, I can't even think, it was so long ago, you know, and I am reverting back to a lot of the skills that I learned in user testing labs, or, you know, like project meetings, working on dependencies, and, you know, it really helped with our launch for Make Some Real Dough. So it is amazing the skills that you can transfer over into your blog that, you know, you've learned through your day job, or that has kind of led you to that point too. But Mel's just saying she's getting married in October, feels like she's kind of stalling or taking the back burner until then, which is okay, I guess. And I just want to add a little bit of insight into this for you as well. I've got a friend here here in Saudi Arabia who is actually a Hollywood actress, and she's been out here for about 2 or 3 years. And she's not like an A-list actress, but she was in Sex and the City too, and she was on Young and the Restless, and she's been in CSI and all that kind of thing. And she's really struggled to come out here where, you know, Saudi Arabia is a very restrictive environment, particularly for women. But, you know, she's got a lot of creative ideas on what she wants to be doing, and she, in terms of going back to the perspective, she was feeling very oppressed and very miserable here, and then she spoke to a friend of hers, and she said, rather than looking at you being, you know, stuck here and, you know, like not having any opportunities, why not look at it as you're the CEO of your family, and you can, not only are you looking after your family, but, you know, you can start to really spend time on the creative projects because you don't have the outside distraction, which you would have if you're living back in LA where, you know, there's lots of different things to get involved in and lots of socialization, you know, lots of people to see, lots of cafes, everything. You can actually do all the writing that you want to do while you're here. So when she changed her perspective, which was what we were talking about before, but also looking at, there was a point I was going to bring, about holding off, she's got a lot of goals that she wants to achieve, and I remember her telling me that she really wants to, she's writing a program, she can speak Arabic as well, she's writing a program which is an Arabic version of Oprah, and she wants to put it forward to some production companies, but she's not giving herself a time limit. Like for me and entrepreneurs, the minute you get an idea, you want to have it happen yesterday. You know, you're like, I've got to get this idea out there before somebody else does it before me, you know. And she's just totally comfortable. She's got kids the same age as me. She's just like, it's just going to happen. And she said, even if it takes 5 years, you know, it'll happen when it's supposed to happen. So, Mel, I just want you to feel that. And I keep thinking of that with me whenever I'm like, oh, my family's holding me back, or, you know, my other responsibilities are holding me back, or I can't plan ahead because I don't know what part of the world I'm going to be in to be able to know what my availability is going to be like. So I just think, okay, just surrender. That's a really good word to remember, surrender, and just know that it's all going to happen in the right timing. And right now you might just be in a place of just absorbing and just getting inspiration and just getting ideas, and maybe the implementation will come later, or maybe, you know, little steps of implementation will happen now. But if you can start out now by learning the systems, the procedures, the efficiencies, you know, and also the content of everything that we're teaching, then when it comes to being the right time, you'll be able to go back to what you've learned and put it into practice. Sorry, that was a bit of a spiel on my soapbox. So,
Christina, what do you think that everyone all of the girls, like, what's the one thing that you think that they could start doing now? So we've spoken about the Pomodoro technique, but what else could they do at this point? We've got a number of, full-time staff. We've got a couple of mums. Besides the things we've already talked about, what is another really great technique that they can use just to get to the next step, to be productive?
One of the things that I did personally myself for my own business, and that I recommend for others, is from day one, set yourself up as if you had 100 clients as opposed to maybe just 1 or 2. And what I mean by that is, instead of when you get your first client, you do absolutely every single thing manually, and then you get your second client and you reinvent the wheel and go along and do exactly the same thing manually again, and then suddenly by the time you've got 10 clients, you're so run off your feet because you're doing all this stuff manually and you've got no time to actually work on your business anymore because you're running around doing administration. So one of the things I would highly recommend is setting yourself up from day one with as many automations or processes as you can. Now, one of the techniques I imparted to Adele and Robin is a piece of software called Zapier, which actually starts off as free. The base package is free. Zapier, Z-A-P-I-E-R. And what that basically does is, how do I phrase it outside of computer terms? It basically is kind of saying, if this happens, then do something else. Okay, so if someone pays me in PayPal, then add them to this MailChimp list, and then send them this form to fill out, and then open a Google Mail that template, and then create a Dropbox folder for them. See, I'm just plucking things from the air, but that's basically what I do with my clients. Someone pays me, I add them to my list, I create a Dropbox folder for them, I create a note in Evernote for them, I send them a form to complete, and every single one of those tasks is actually automated via Zapier. So it took me, I don't know, half an hour or an hour or something to get my head around Zapier and to set up what they call Zaps. But even if I only had one client, it doesn't matter. That's a really good test case to see if the process actually works.
Yep.
And then by the time you get 5 clients, 10 clients, 100 clients, you've already got all that set up, and it's stuff that 99% of people actually do manually. And then when they haven't got time to do it manually, they think, oh gosh, I better go get a virtual assistant, or they run around tearing their hair out and not knowing what to do. So it's really all about working out what you can automate, working out what you can document. I write down what I'm doing to set up a client so that the next client that comes along, I don't have to sit there and scratch my head and try and remember what I did last time. It's just a few notes in an Evernote document. It doesn't have to be fancy. So just really set yourself up as if you've got 100 clients, not just one, right from day one. And then the busier you get, actually, the less you have to do because you've set it all up already.
Something I'd like to add to that as well is that one of my clients does this, and I think it's a really basic but a very effective way to ensure that when you do grow, it makes it a lot easier for you to be able to delegate. And that's that every time she's doing a task or an action that could be delegated in the future, like something that once somebody knows how to do it, they can, that you're happy to delegate. And she just has a little notebook and she just writes down, what she did and in what process flow, so that she can then either scan that and put it in a Dropbox folder, and then she can start to develop a process flow or a process document so that she can hand that over to a VA. I know somebody who runs an online business and they don't have any contact with any of their staff except for one person, and that one person heads up the rest of their team. And because this woman only works like 2 or 3 hours a day, and basically they just have a process manual. And so I know someone that was hired as a VA for that team, and all she was given was access to the manual, and she just had to look up the manual to see, well, how to respond to this kind of email. What do I do in this case? And she was only able to contact the head of the team if she couldn't find something in that manual.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I love that. So even if you feel like you can't afford it right now, it's something that you'll always be able to go back to. And I do it in a little bit of a different way. Like if I'm doing a job that I know, because I do have a VA, that my VA could do, but I haven't yet taught them how to do it, I'll actually do it and I'll screen record it while I'm doing it. And then I put it in her Dropbox folder. So next time that I need that to be done, I know that it's in the library of tasks, and I just send her a link to it and go, hey, could you do this? And now, you know, there's lots of tasks in it that she doesn't even need to watch the video to do anymore. She knows how to do it.
Brilliant.
So I found that really, really good.
Yeah. Whereas, see, I unfortunately couldn't get my head around Zapier. Robin set up Zaps for our Make Some Real Dough, but I couldn't not get my head around it as much as I tried. I sat there and I just went, I just don't get it. But see, for me, I love Asana, and I know that we've spoken about Asana, and for those who have, looked at the actual bonus module and who have looked in the, who followed our first lot of webinars, Asana pretty much has changed the way I do my business. It's very much list-based. I love my lists. I love writing lists. I've got, notepads and notes and bloody crap everywhere, post-its all over the shop. Look, I mean, that's my desk has got post-its all over it. And I think that when you're very much list-based, for me, it makes Asana really simple. It's just I type in all of my tasks. I can do it on my phone. So while I'm laying there at night time and I think, oh, shit, I've got so many things to do tomorrow, instead of stressing myself out and getting out of bed and actually doing them like I would have done once upon a time because I was afraid of forgetting them, I simply open up the app, I type out everything on a separate line, then the next morning it'll either come up with reminders or I simply go in and I go, okay, I've done that, tick it off, and there is such satisfaction in crossing things off that list.
Yeah.
So I love Asana. Zapier is something that I'm going to have to go back and visit, and maybe I'll get you to help me set that up, Christina. Christina offers that as one of her services, setting up Zaps for clients, so maybe I can I'll have to do that because it's just over my head. But yes, exactly, Jane, exactly, you're not alone. So that's Asana is just my favorite. Rob and I have used Asana religiously for a very long time. We love Asana. So
it did take me a little bit. Christina was talking about things being more visual. I tried Trello because I wasn't very happy with Asana at first. I found Trello was a lot more visual. But then I just found I had to go back to Asana because that's pretty much what everybody else uses, and I just had to train myself to use it, and I do like it. But the only thing is I just have to make sure it can be a bit overwhelming when there's I even know I now Make Some Real Dough Asana, there's a lot of stuff that hasn't been checked off that I have to go and actually look at doing, but it's just that matter of getting in there and doing it. I do like that you can, I'll just give an example of how I use Zaps, both for Make Some Real Dough and for me, and it did take me a little bit of playing around with it and just testing how it all works, and I think that comes with any kind of software, whether you're learning MailChimp, Dropbox. Mel's just asking, I think, about Dropbox. Dropbox is basically just a cloud-based file service so that you can sign up, and I think it's free for a certain amount, and then you might have to pay. But basically you can just keep files in a cloud in Dropbox. So you should be able to find some tutorials online, I'm sure, if you can't, work it out, but it's pretty straightforward. But in terms of Zaps, what I've used them for is I haven't got as complicated as Christine, and I know that I could probably use it for way more, but I've set it up so that anytime I put a certain label on certain emails, like if I label something IT, it goes directly to Asana, and it assigns that then to my person who deals with my IT issues, and they then get an email sent to them through Asana. So there might be an easier way where I could send it to them directly in email, but I like to track everything in Asana so that I know what's getting done, because you can actually communicate back and forward on each task once you start planning to use it. And I wouldn't not use Asana yet because you don't have anybody else on your team, because you can still use Asana effectively if you're just a one-man show to begin with. So, and I also set up a Zap as well for Adele, and I'm pretty sure it worked and that was every time, because we're using my PayPal account for Make Some Real Dough, every time, so that I wasn't always, because obviously we wanted to see how well we were doing with the launch for Make Some Real Dough. I set up a Zap so that every time I got an email from PayPal for Make Some Real Dough, it would then send her an email to her private email so that she would be able to keep a tally of how many sales we're making as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it took a bit of practice and a bit of, having to think in a different way, like how things kind of join together. But I find that Zaps aren't the only thing that I have to think that way, like when I'm setting up lead pages, which is landing pages, and how, if I want to connect it to my mailing list. It's the same with Webinar Gen. It's just trying to work out where all the pieces fit together, because I like automation as well. Okay, there's
Nerd.
I know, right?
Nerd.
I'm a nerd, but I tell you what, I'm not even going to show you guys. But we're nerds, but then I'm not an organised person naturally. Like my desk right now, luckily you can't see it, I've got like piles of paper sitting up next to me, like kids' stuff and my stuff. And
you know what's funny? The only 2 rooms in my house that are organised are my office and my kitchen. Yeah. The rest of the house, I just don't even worry about. And this is the other thing as well, prioritising. I go, you know what? The laundry can sit there, the bathroom, the toilet can sit there. I'm not even fussed. The shower, cleaning that, whatever, that can wait. My priority is keeping my desk and my office clean and clear, my workspace nice, and my kitchen clean so I can easily go in and make more mess. And then Paul can clean it up afterwards. So that's a priority right there.
Yeah.
If you're wondering why I keep putting dots in there, it's because I can't see some of the messages at the top. I don't know if it's the same for you guys as well, but that's why I keep just posting that in there, because I can't see the questions. How to give someone access to a Dropbox. I think, yeah, Adele's just answered that. So, yeah, you can actually delegate people to an actual file or to a folder, which is great. Like, because, when I had a full-time VA, like, she would have access to, like, an actual folder, which was Robin's business, and then we would have multiple folders underneath that. But then if you just want to give somebody access, which you can actually use Dropbox for your opt-in gifts as well, like your lead magnets, if that's another way that you want to deliver them, it's just another way to be able to share documents, is particularly larger documents that can't be emailed as well. So it's just, I think we spoke about that in our initial training as well, in the free training that we did before Make Some Real Dough. We didn't really go into how to use it though.
Guys, I might jump in on a question that I saw come up earlier because it kind of relates to what we're talking about anyway. And there was someone that asked about, look, I've just got so many things in my head that I just don't know where to start. I don't know, like it's just all too overwhelming, was pretty much the synopsis of what the question said. So here's what I recommend. If you've never really been a to-do list kind of person and you do run around with everything in your head, here's what I would say. Take some time, literally close the door, turn off the phone, blah, 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 and just get out a notepad and literally just write out like a massive brainstorm of every single thing that's in your head, right? So that you've got everything on just one line on a piece of paper. I mean, one line per item, right? That's what I would do first. And then sit down and look at what you think the priority in terms of time frame is for each of those items. So the code that I use for myself is I'll say priority A means it's got to be done today, B means it's got to be done this week, C means this fortnight, and D means sometime in the future. That's just my legend that I use. You can use whatever one you want, okay? And then for every single item, force yourself to go in and say whether it's an A, B, C, or a D, okay? And then suddenly you not only just have a big list, but suddenly you're starting to see what the priorities are and what the time frames are for each of those lists, or for each of those items on the list, I'm sorry. And then what I would do, being the spreadsheet nerd, is whether you like it on paper or in Asana or in Evernote or a notepad, doesn't matter, but then I start separating them out a bit and just say, okay, here's the to-do list for today. So everything that had an A on it, I just put on one piece. And then suddenly, instead of having a million things in my head, I've now just got one sheet of paper that I know is the stuff that I want to focus on today. And you can create a second sheet for the B's and a third sheet for the C's and another sheet for the D's if you want, or you can do it in a spreadsheet so it automatically does it. Whatever way you want to do it yourself, but just somehow what you're doing is you're getting that massive list of stuff out of your head, and it is now becoming kind of an organized, prioritized, and time frame dependent item. So you're suddenly getting a lot more clarity on what you need to do. And guess what? You only ever need to do that massive brainstorm once, assuming you actually then just keep up with it. Like Adele said, you know, she'd be lying in bed and add something to Asana. You don't have to do that. You can write it on your piece of paper. Oh gosh, I thought of another thing that I want to do by the end of this week. You get out your list of B's and you write it down, you know. And once you set yourself up like that, honestly, you feel like this weight's being lifted off your shoulders, because you don't have to run around with everything in your head freaking out that you're going to forget something really, really important. So, yeah, hopefully that helps, but that's really the way to start getting a to-do list together if you've never been one person that actually has done this before.
I've also done something very similar, Christina, where rather than doing 4 different priority levels, we did 2. And it was A or B. And A meant it had to be done today, and B meant it didn't have to be done today. And what you would then have to do, so it's using, without confusing everybody, it's using pretty much what Christina just shared, but simplifying it to only 2 levels of priority, and also giving each task a time frame as to how long it would take to do it. But what you would do is say it would take you an hour. Say you said you have to send somebody an email, you have to call someone for their birthday. You might say, well, that will take 15 minutes. You write down 15 minutes, but then you add another 50% onto it. So it'll be, like 20 minutes, something like that. Or I think it's, 50, no, you double it, that's right. So it'll be half an hour. And the reason why you do that is because then you can look at all the tasks, all the A's that you've given yourself to do today, and then if you add up the time frame, the reason why you add extra time onto it is to account for interruptions, particularly if you're working at home with kids, or you're working around with other people, or there's other things that just come up which are urgent, which weren't on your list. So when you actually look at all the A's that you've got to get done for today, sometimes you'll find it'll add up to 26 hours, which obviously you can't get done in one day. So it'll make you really then reassess and go, okay, the reason why I'm so stressed out at the end of the day is because I'm giving myself way too many things to get done. By the end of the day, I can't realistically get all those things done, thinking that you can. So if you actually see that out on paper, it will actually show you that, hey, you either need to start delegating, you need to start changing the priority on things, and you really need to work out what it is that you should be spending your time on, and, you know, not worry about the rest. And I want to just tell you that every business owner, small business owner, will always feel like their inbox is never empty. So you'll always get to the end of the day and be like, oh, I could have done more, you know. So you have to need to know when to just switch off and go, okay, that's it. That's it for today.
You have to, or you're going to burn yourself out before you even get to a point where you can afford to be burnt out. You know, you need to give yourself a break and not be too rough. And, you know, by implementing, you know, even one of the things, even if you just take away one thing tonight and start implementing it, you'll see really, really quickly that it's going to make a huge difference, and it's not going to, you know, make these tasks as overwhelming. You know, breaking things down, working on things one by one, prioritizing, Pomodoro technique, the Eisenhower delegation method, you know, outsourcing to someone else who's an expert, you know, and really focusing on the things that you love and want to do, as opposed to doing these piddly little tasks that, you know, you might have to do them for a little bit, but when you get, you know, the money together to do other things, you want to start focusing on the things you can do. So even if you just take away one thing from tonight, I hope it makes a difference.
Yeah, do we have any more questions? Lee's just saying the brain dump. And Charlotte's saying it does help. Yeah, see how, I don't know if you guys can see, like I have to do like a couple of dots down to be able to get the rest of the messages to come down. It might just be the way my screen is set up. So yeah, I don't know. Christina, if any, what are you offering at the moment in terms of productivity sessions? Like, are you still offering, guidance one-on-one? Like, do you want to talk a little bit about your offerings now?
Yeah, sure. So I do have the one-on-one offering, which is the one that Adele did, which is my efficiency recon. But my other thing that is just coming into being now, which I'm really excited about, and this is actually the first time I've mentioned it in public, is my Autopilot Academy. So it's going to be an online course, literally a complete brain dump from me on everything business-related efficiency and everything personal life-related efficiency. So there'll be modules on planning, on delegation, on automation, on scheduling, on diarising, absolutely everything. I'm just going to kind of just dump it all out, and all my templates and my spreadsheets and all that type of stuff is going to be a part of that course as well.
Yay.
So all of that is on my website. The course has not started. Obviously, it's literally just kind of coming into being right now, but I do have it on my site where you can just sign up to the list if you want to know when it starts. But yes, I do have the one-on-one sessions as well. So they're my two main.
So valuable.
Yes,
You're
so
valuable. There is no one else doing what you do that I've ever come across, Christina.
No.
Like, there's no one who, I've just linked your website up there as well. There's no one that I've seen that does what you do the way that you do it, and the amount of value that you get even with one session just changed the way that I worked. And if you are struggling, and if it is just, that feeling of constant overwhelm, something like this could just be the answer to your prayers. And you're just lovely. We just love you. You're great, Christina.
Thank you. Lovely thing to say.
And for more information on what we kind of going a little bit deeper on what we discussed today, you go to the bonus section of the member site and you'll find the bonus that Christina has so generously provided for us. And also when the Academy is up and running, we'll be sharing that as well, the Automation Academy. When you're ready to share that, we're more than happy to share that for you, Christina.
Great, that's fantastic. Thank you.
No worries. So I think, everyone, we're done with the questions. Monica's just saying thank you so much, ladies. Lots of food for thought. And I just want to say a very big thank you to Christina for joining us, because I know you had that big long commute today, and I know it was really hard for us to try and get a time that suited us all. So I really appreciate you doing this after a very long day at work.
Oh, that's okay. Thank you so much for having me. This has been really great and lots of fun. Yeah. So, yeah, always happy to help. So, cool.
Excellent. All right. Well, I think we'll leave it there, and we'll see everybody back in the group. And we'll be chatting next month about social media. So, we'll see you later, I guess. Right?
Great.
Bye, everyone.
See you in the group, everyone.